I'm Fiorenzo Omenetto. I'm from Tufts University. This talk is about materials. It's about materials because materials really do matter, and materials are who we are. They've shaped our societies from Stone Age to Iron Age to Bronze Age. And material choices matter because materials are getting us in trouble. And this is the extent of doom. That is just one of the extent of dooms that I'm going to have. I'm not going to talk about doom too much. I do think that we do need a mindset shift, however, and this requires thinking about materials differently and thinking about what surrounds us, forever, plastic and materials, lifetime, etc. So whenever we're in trouble, generally we go to mom. Maybe the mom that we go to is Mother Nature. We say, Mom, what do you use to build? And there are a lot of biomaterials that seem to provide a good alternative to some of the inorganics that we use today. And I am here to tell you that a lot of the answers to some of our questions and to some of our problems are right here in this cocoon. And this is a textile commodity material, and it really has superpowers in a way. And this material is silk, and in our lab, we don't use silk in the same way that the textile world does, but instead we liquefy the material, we liquefy the fibers to get a liquid version of silk. So this is the starting point of our biomaterials revolution. And I want you to imagine and look around and think about the things that are in this room and think about what would you do if everything was made in a water-based process, if the materials had the capacity to stabilize biology at room temperature, if you could eat them. Well, what am I going to do? Am I going to eat a chair? We'll see. But what if you could eat the materials? What if you can implant them in the body without immune responses, harmlessly? What if they were naturally degraded into natural amino acids? So this material is a polymath material in a certain sense. It brings together so many things, and they're all here. They're all trapped in this cocoon. And I've been kind of passionate about this material for a while. It's been almost 2 decades, and it still continues to surprise me. This is where there's a convergence of discovery, sustainability, health, high tech, energy, food, fashion, design, art, of course. And you really go from these materials to that solution that I showed you, and then you go from that solution to all of these really technical formats, then get you accolades in scientific journals, which then lead to people saying, can we come and see what's going on in your lab? And so when you come and when you come and see the lab, generally we've had CEOs, third graders, students, musicians, artists, all sorts of people from every walk of life. When you come to your lab, you'll see all these formats that silk can take on and silk can transform and morph into. So what do you see when you come in? You see silk inks that stabilize enzymes that respond to you. So you see, that's right. So you see clothes that with inks that really contain antibodies or enzymes that are stable in the inks that tell you information about your health in real time, which then can move on to undergarments that start being beacons of cancer, or reformulation of the materials into flying objects. So you'll see flying objects that fly around a room and sniff for viruses in the air. Or you'll see these microneedle patches that are made of silk that preserve vaccines and therapy without need for refrigeration. So this would allow for distribution of vaccines and therapy globally, regardless of the cold chain. You'll see electronic chips that dissolve on demand. You just spray some water and your chip goes away. You'll see ways to preserve and to shape sound You'll see protein glitter that reflects sunlight and that keeps object cool when it's spread on surfaces. And you'll see a way of taking some kale leaves and putting silk on top, and then leaving them at room temperature and seeing silk preserve the food and not making the food spoil at room temperature. So generally, when we generally have a reaction when people come to the wow. Wow, yes, and that's amazing. Thank you. But the real thing is not too much. There's always plenty of wow, and we continue to hear about wow. One of the things that over the past we've started thinking about even more is how do you really go from wow to how. This involves a lot of taking something that might be easy to do in the lab, but then you need to scale it up, and you need to look for profit and technological impact, and think about pragmatics, end of life, social impact, etc. So we started really scaling this up, and so now this that is 100 milliliters of silk that we did maybe in 2 weeks to a month. Now this has become, the capacity has become 1,000 liters of silk per day that are here in this bucket in powder form, and you just add water as if you were making a juice. And this is thanks to our colleagues and industrial partners. Having scale means that you can start rolling out the silk. Here's 100 meters of biology in this roll. And then if you can start addressing scale, that means that you can start going towards applications such as this, where of planetary importance. And if you think about food protection and about the burden and the footprint in terms of greenhouse gases that food waste has, you can start thinking about going in that direction and starting to do these things where now this is in our wheelhouse. So now we can address this scale in these farms in the southwestern United States. So all of this comes from this. And if you want more of this, well, you need to plant more trees because this is an agricultural crop. So how do we go from 30,000 to 30 million X? I want to do this really, really a lot. And so there's a lot of arguments about circular economies, bringing back technology to the village, regenerative agriculture. But there's also an opportunity here that you can use this. And so this can be, so just to give you a sense, this is the United Kingdom. And with the textile waste that you have today, you could cover, with the silk textile waste that you have today, you can cover the whole nation. So this is a tremendous amount of textile waste, and silk is 0.2% of the industrial production of textiles in general. So just that, leaving that out there for a second, but that's not a doom statement. I want this to be an opportunity. There are things that you can do where you go from waste maybe to warmth, and this is an example of foam that has been generated from this textile waste, and an example of this foam being used between two sheets as an insulating material. This all comes from here. And I want to conclude because once upon a time, 10 years ago, I showed how silk could become technical. And I showed this gadget that you could send a laser beam through and it would project images on the wall. And it was made out of the protein. So you can repurpose that same waste into technical devices, into technological devices like this. So nanoscale devices that are in a film of protein that comes from waste that can project images. Here we go again. We're going to try to see if it happens. And it does happen. Let's see. You can encode a lot of information in these things, which means that there's hope also. There's hope for these things, and I think that this is where the opportunities are. But to conclude, really, how we choose materials does matter because there are a lot of high-value applications, whether it comes from the agricultural crop or whether it comes from textile waste. There are a lot of very, very good high-value application materials that we can do that will generate new markets, and that is very important without forever waste. Waste streams do become a source of opportunity, and I think that this is a very underlooked thing. And so if we repurpose with purpose and we connect the dots, I think that there is indeed some hope for the future. Thank you.